Hello and welcome back to Hogwarts. Well, the Craft Mansion. I am Professor Grima. Red hair and a hand-me-down robe? You must be a Weasley. Well, Fred and George Weasley to be exact, everyone's favourite pair of twins. Why? Because in this video I'll be showing you how to make the wands of Fred and George Weasley. These are not the first ones I've ever made, as exhibited by the small collection at the back over here. I have an even larger collection of wands, and you can see how I made those ones in this playlist over here. There are some other Harry Potter props in that playlist as well. Now, as I said previously, I'll be doing George and Fred's wands today, and I made some online research and found out that George's wand is 14 inches long, while Fred's is 13.5 inches long. Now, as usual, not all sources matched, but I'm going with these lengths. And from those lengths, I scaled up and printed these two pictures of their wands. So I can start from here. Okay, so I had to film this because, well, this is the situation in my car right now. It doesn't really help to buy long dowels when you have such a small car. To make George's wand, I started with a 16mm thick dowel and cut a chunk that was 35.3cm long. If you've seen my previous videos, I think you pretty much got the gist of this whole process, but I will go over it quickly for anyone who's new to the channel. And by the way, if you are new, you can always consider subscribing for more entertaining prop tutorials. In this step, I basically taped the image to the dowel and then traced its outline using a marker. Next, I cut one end at an angle. And since I have this new cool machinery, I quickly removed the excess wood where necessary to fit the outline of the image. I used the G-clamp to prevent the dowel from rolling over. This is of course a pretty handy tool, but as always, please be very careful if you handle this sort of machinery. Then I went through the same process again, but this time on the flat side. After removing as much wood as possible, I shifted to wood carving to round out the dowel. Going through various stages of sanding, I started roughly using the disc sander. Then, I made the finer details with my Dremel tool and a sanding block, which, by the way, that's just a nail file. I mean, it's pink. I don't know why I've been calling it a sanding block this past year. Anyways, I drew the middle design that was made up of skewed rings and used my hobby knife and sanding file to carve out those details. For the spiral, I glued on a simple strap of cardboard, poured more super glue so it could harden, and then defined the spiral. I decided to create a quick template for the handle by covering it in tape and drawing on the pattern. At this stage, trying not to damage the wood. I peeled it off and cut the different strands and transferred them to cardstock to create the templates. From there I traced them onto cardstock again, but this time these were used in the prop itself. I also designed the thick ring at the end in the same way and glued everything on. I applied more super glue to the cardstock, and once dry, I sealed the whole handle and spirals with Mod Podge. For the paint, I started with a light brown color. Then I added more details with a darker brown and painted over the middle rings. Since the color shouldn't be completely solid, I quickly went over with a dry brush to remove some of the dark paint. The handle details are also dark brown. Finally, I used some black shoe polish and wiped off the excess to further define the design. For Fred's wand, I used a much thinner dowel, only 9mm thick, and then I cut a length of 32.5cm. At the start, I went through the same steps I took in the previous wand. Again, disc sander, Dremel tool, and sanding block. Before the start of the handle, there are 4 mini branches, sort of. I drilled 4 holes and then glued in bits of a kebab stick. Some were shaping and these were basically finished. Making the handle portion of Fred's wand is undoubtedly the trickiest part, and I played around with the ideas of maybe carving it out of the wood or making it out of clay, but at the end of the day I don't think that those were techniques I could work with. I came up with the idea of maybe using some previous carvings, and what I mean by that is, when I did my previous ones, I collected all the shavings I had, and among these there are some like this. They're like really large splinters, and my idea is to maybe find some of these or even make some of these and stick them to the wand. Now I need to look through this whole bottle, and I just got this very large lid, and it's even very dirty. And I just need to sort out through this mess. Well, that was a complete waste of time because I ended up scrapping the whole idea. Instead, I used old plastic cards which I cut into thin strips. On the dowel itself, I spread out plenty of hot glue and just let it cool in place. To mold the plastic into shape, I used a small blowtorch and made that small loop at the top while also bending the plastic. Then I went over and melted a small area of the glue each time and put each strip in place. I rounded and smoothed the base and sanded the underside of the loops. I hid the dowel at the end using some extra hot glue. Finally, I sealed over the plastic with Mod Podge. This wand is considerably darker, so I mixed red with black. Then I mixed a lighter shade and dry brushed it onto the shaft and also painted some dark lines. I finally dry brushed the handle with black and highlighted the loops with a light brown. The Weasley wands were ready for war. And that's it for today's tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and remember, if you did, please give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment down below with other ideas of what you think I can do next. Now, I've heard in another video that when you put your wands together like this, they sort of resemble a broom, which I think they do. There's either this is the handle of the broom, and then at the end you see the bristles of the broom. And that's because both twins are on the Gryffindor Quidditch team. If you would like to see more tutorials from my channel, you can subscribe over here. These are some more videos from my channel, and until next time, these are the ones of Fred and George Weasley. I'm David, and this is the Craft Mansion.